Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast wherever you are. I'm really excited about today's guest, Dan Goodstein, and he is a marketing strategist. He's a business therapist. He's a coach. Today's talk is all about going to be about sales and marketing, technology, AI, and I'm really happy to have him on. So, Dan, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and briefly introduce yourself, and I'm excited to dive into the questions.
Yeah, thank you. I describe myself as a recovering technology guy. I went to school for tech and learned very early on I was better at the business and the sales and the marketing side of tech than the technical side of tech, and spent most of my career in media, marketing, sales, and go to market strategy, initially within tech companies and then elsewhere. I run a professional association of technology executives, but my main passion is really helping startups and business owners on sales and marketing, how to articulate what they do, how they differentiate themselves, and how to scale their business.
Interesting. So I always love to, because this podcast is for brands to showcase and attract their client avatar. So what do people come to you for? Like particular problem or particular solution? What are they coming to you to work with you for?
Yeah, a lot of it is just that people struggle with how to articulate what they do and how they're different from others. Historically, as I mentioned, work with a lot of tech companies, which founders of tech companies are often brilliant people, innovators, and have created technology, but not necessarily great at selling it and marketing it and articulating why it's good and why it's different and why people should buy it. Spent a lot of time with that. How do you differentiate? How do you articulate the message and those sorts of things. And then the other area is business owners who are really focused on the operations and the day-to-day of working in the business, but don't always have the time or the bandwidth or even the experience to take a step back and work on the business and some of the strategies that they should be doing that just don't seem to make the cut in their normal day-to-day.
Interesting. And so we'll start out with, what do most firms get wrong with their sales and marketing plans?
Yeah, the biggest thing is it's too complicated. It's the third grader litmus test thing. Even myself, like I said, running an association of technology executives for the longest time, my wife, kids, and most of my friends had no idea what I did for a living. And I realized at some point that wasn't good, especially if I'm a sales and marketing guy. So the breakthrough for me was a couple of years ago, my third grade daughter coming into my office and asking me what I did and trying to figure out how to dilute that down to a third grade level. But that's really what we do, right? At the end of the day is figure out how to explain things at a very basic level. You go to some websites, some businesses' websites, and you could spend 20 minutes on there. Not that anybody does, right? People spend 30 seconds max, 15 seconds probably. And if they can't figure out what you do, they move on to the next thing. It's a busy, noisy space. Everybody's got a business, a side hustle, a gig now. So if your message doesn't come across in the first few seconds, you're lost. I've been in, like I said, technology for my entire career. I go to some of these websites and I don't even know what they do. And I'm not the buyer. I'm the industry watcher guy. That's the biggest thing.
Interesting. So you talk about, in this day and age where we have so many options and tools, what mechanisms and channels are most effective for accelerating sales and marketing?
Yeah, I would say unfortunately, there's no silver bullet channel. And I think it's become more difficult now than it was. So in a lot of ways, it's better now because technology has democratized access, AI, ChatGPT, right? All these things, Google Ad, right? So anybody can do it, but there's a lot more channels now. And there's been some changes in the last 6 months and another bunch of changes happening in the next year or so that's going to make it more difficult for you to be focused on any one channel. Obviously, I don't need to tell people watching, social media changes very quickly. AI changes very quickly. The way that we market, the way we write content, the way we work will be different, not in 2 years, 5 years, in 6 months. So it's moving very quickly, number one. But the other is there's some things happening. So people have relied on email a lot. The email providers are cracking down really hard on what emails get delivered to an inbox now. The majority of email communications are not landing in people's inboxes anymore. They're going to make it more difficult. They're going to make it so that if you're sending emails through a third-party software like a sales CRM or for a marketing automation platform, you're never going to get to the recipient. So there's things like that in the email space, in the phone space. The connection rate of getting somebody on the phone live is at an all-time low. I think it's, depending on the industry, 1 or 2%. So it's very difficult to get somebody live on the phone, getting more and more difficult. Things like that make it challenging. What we're typically advising is, depending on the industry, really a portfolio of different channels that kind of work together to get people engaged.
Yeah, and speaking about what is the, especially with the AI in the future work and effects on business, sales, and marketing, how is it affecting those areas?
It's making it a lot more noisy. So the good news is everybody can send stuff out now and everybody can write content. The bad news is everyone can send something out now and everybody can write content. So you go to LinkedIn, you don't know who the real experts are anymore. You read an article, you don't know if a person wrote that article or if AI wrote that article. I've seen some examples lately where AI doesn't even know AI wrote the, right? It's noisy. It's very noisy. And the good news is I think the people that figure out how to apply these technologies well will succeed. So we're not eliminating humans yet, but the mundane tasks are going away and we have the ability to do things at a level of scale that we haven't been able to do. For example, we have some technology that we've tested and have been experimenting with that is an AI sales rep that does the initial outreach on behalf of a human being and can personally can send 100x the emails that a human being could do, does a better job than most human beings about 85% of the time. But more importantly, is doing the part of the sales process that most people hate. It's the mundane, repetitive, ongoing piece. Most salespeople want to focus on selling, not prospecting, not sending initial emails, not searching through data lists to find prospects. So now there's some AI technology that can do that. And there's some good technology that can, in the kind of conversational AI space they refer to, that can actually dialogue with you and do the basic stuff to make sure you're worth a human's time to get on the phone with. Whereas before it was a numbers game and you had to speak to thousands and thousands of people and just waste your time to get to the needle in the haystack.
The other question I have for you is, because you mentioned going onto websites and really can't tell what a company does. How does a business owner or entrepreneur determine if their products or services are correctly positioned, especially on their website and other areas?
I would say have that third grader look at it. If they don't understand what you do, if it's not above the fold, if they have got to scroll, if they've got to click to figure it out, it's too far. If it's not easily explainable in the proverbial elevator pitch, then it's too complicated. Especially if you're relying on, if you're an online business, or even if you're just relying on online to get your leads and your customers. There's just so many choices now. You might have the best product out, and I've seen companies that had inferior products win because they articulated it better than the better products did.
Yeah, interesting. So in your experience, what does a comprehensive go-to-market plan look like?
It's a longer conversation than this, but I would say a couple different things, right? Messaging, credibility, right? You got to come across as an expert in your field. Frequency. There's a lot of people that produce very occasional content. And I was speaking to somebody the other day that has a power washing business, right? Not too high tech, not too hard to articulate. But he's told me, I'm losing customers who loved me and wrote great reviews for me to a guy who's got a YouTube channel and puts out a piece of content every day on all of his power washing success stories. And he said, why do you think that's happening? I said, just because he's there. And when people say, I want to call the power washer and they can't find your phone number, but they keep seeing this guy in their face every day. He seems like a nice guy. Seems like he knows what he's doing. The frequency wins, right? Maybe you're a better power washer than him. Maybe you did a better job than he's going to do, but he's just there in people's face every day. Consistency, content, simple messaging. And then I think where it gets a little more complicated is pricing models and packaging and things like that, knowing your competitors' price points, knowing how they go to market, knowing how they package. And then, as you already asked me about, what are the right channels? What are the right groups? Is there an association in my space where all my buyers are at? Is there a referral network that I can tap into that can get me better quality leads versus spraying and praying all over the internet? Where have I seen success? Where are my customers now? And how can I find other lookalikes like them that might be an easier sell to say, hey, I've done all this work in whatever financial services. So I know your problem. I know your business and I can help you versus I'm a dentist and I've never worked with a dentist before.
And how about a comprehensive content and media plan? What does that look like?
I think it's two pronged, right? One is we call it serve and sell, right? There's an element of sales where at some point you got to ask for the sale, right? You got to ask for the business, you got to ask for the transaction. But a lot of people, there's a subset of people that never ask. They give a bunch of stuff away for free and they get on a phone call and it's going well and they never ask for the business. But there's another group of people, and we all know them, right? Where you just feel like you need a shower afterwards because they're like the used car salesman thing, right? Oh, the guy who's just, if I can get you a good deal, can you sign today? That kind of time. So in those situations, we say do serve and sell, right? So every other piece you send out, at least, should provide value to the customer. No selling. Just, I have a series that I do, which is similar to this conversation, sales and marketing strategy. Whether or not you ever get on the phone with me, you're going to get a weekly article and stats on best practices in sales and marketing. Why? It's providing value to you and it's establishing credibility for me so that when the timing is right, you'll get that other email from me that says, hey, how about now? And we already have a relationship, or at least the start of something, because I've been in your inbox for the last 18 months or whatever.
Yeah, we're almost towards the end. And so I'm really curious, what do you see the future of work in customer experience? What does that look like in your experience working with clients?
So customer experience is everything. We live in a world where everything is becoming commoditized, everything. I don't know about you, but I can't tell you I can tell you what I pay for eggs because eggs are very expensive these days, but I can't tell you what I'm paying for an SD card or a hard drive, or because I'm going on Amazon, because every time I have a problem, they resolve it and exchange it or whatever. And I never have to deal with it. Meanwhile, if I go to any other retailer, they make me jump through hoops and give my firstborn child in order to return something. So I think in a very commoditized world, I just had an issue this morning with a financial institution I won't mention. It just made it so difficult. I'm like, I don't need you. There's 4,000 banks. I can open a bank account in 37 seconds online now. So my loyalty to you, Mr. Big Box Bank, is not what it used to be, right? So customer experience is everything. And for the people on the other side of that are providing customer experience, there's a lot of tools out there right now it used to be that people thought, hey, humans will always give a better experience than technology. I would argue that paradigm has shifted. I think the average experience there's some people have had bad experiences with chatbots, but the new age of AI technologies is today in a lot of industries better than the average human experience. So if you're not already doing it, you're behind, catch up.
Yeah. And how about the future of work? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, that's another show too, right? But it's going to evolve. I don't think AI is taking everybody's job, but if you don't know how to leverage AI, then you will become less relevant very soon in most industries. So I think that you're going to need a lot less people to do the same things in a year or two that we use a lot of people for now. You mentioned, contact center is a great example, right? If you have 500 people in a contact center in a year or two, you're probably only going to need 100 of those people. So if you're in the contact center, be the 100, not number 101 or 499. And if you're the company that's figuring this stuff out, where can you put people where they can create a better experience versus putting them in a position where they really don't have any power and aren't really doing anything that a bot couldn't do anyway. But yeah, I think it's going to become a very difficult for people that don't know how to use AI or any other emerging technology, but especially AI. It's going to be difficult for those people to justify their worth and their value in organizations as things evolve. It won't happen overnight. It's not going to go from 500 to one, but you're going to start seeing those traditional workforces erode for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we even saw with the government, people thought the government job was safe, and now they're SOL. Very interesting. How can people contact you and connect with you and learn from you?
Yeah, businesstherapist.org is the website. dangoodstein.com is my personal site. And I think my LinkedIn and things are on there. Go check that out. If there's anything you're working on that you could use some advice or help with, let me know.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed talking with you, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. My pleasure.